can you get good advice about playing the clarinet on Facebook or the internet in general, let's say? All right, our first question is, oh, and by the way, I've anonymized all of this so that I'm not aware of who I'm responding to or anything like that, whether it be the questioner or the commenters. First question, does anyone have ligature recommendations for a Vandoren M13? I currently just have a junky cheap one. Questions like this seem mostly to generate a list of things people are using, which can be quite helpful. So let's take a look. First answer, Vandoren Optimum. Good ligature. Next answer, if you don't want to spend $120 to $1,200, your go-tos are a Bonade or Leuben. As mentioned above, I didn't copy all the comments. If you search a little, you can find a Mitchell-Lurie springboard ligature that's also good. In the $120 to $150 range, a BG Duo or Ishimori Kodama are excellent recommendations. I happen to remember who made this comment. It's someone who knows a great deal about ligatures and equipment in general, a thoughtful person, and this is right on the money. I agree with everything that's there. Next comment, the MO is nice. That's a Vandoren ligature, that's true. Nickel-plated Bonade or Leuben. True. I love my Bonade. Who doesn't? Great ligature. Vandoren Optimum. I love the BG traditional metal ligature. It made me tongue a hair better than the Optimum. Let's get to that in a second. Which would be my second place. BG Super Revelation would be my honorable mention. Cheers. That's nice. Bonade. I like the BG ligatures. I like the BG LD. One screw. I'll never use a 2-screw ligature again. Too time-consuming in an emergency. Signature Hex is what I use. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what that is. I'm sure it's a good ligature. I used to use a Bonade inverted. Great all-around ligature. Used that for probably 20 years. Now I have switched to a Rovner Versa. Good stuff. If it works, keep it. If it doesn't, then change. It's using the same principles as when you buy any other kit. Good advice. Let me throw in my 2 cents. First of all, I do want to acknowledge in the initial question, it's talking about a Vandoren M13, which is a great mouthpiece. Let me just say, all the Vandoren mouthpieces are pretty great mouthpieces. They've got a variety of facings and different models, different materials, different chambers. There's something there for everybody, pretty much. And they are high-quality mouthpieces. I recommend them wholeheartedly to anybody that wants a good mouthpiece. Vandoren mouthpieces, as well as any other professional mouthpiece that you purchase, will not come with a ligature, which is standard of the industry. At that point, everyone's assuming you do have a ligature of your own. There's none that are specific to any mouthpieces particularly, and they're all good in terms of that. When I say they're all good, I mean if you purchase a BG, a Vandoren, a Silverstein, Rovner, they're all excellent ligatures. They do provide a different user experience, I think is the best way to talk about it. You know, when it comes down to it, the main job of a ligature, the primary job, is to hold the reed on the mouthpiece, and they all do that. Michael Lowenstern has a great video where he uses all the ligatures, plus a chip clip, to prove that from a tone standpoint, they're really not that much different. But I will say from an experience standpoint, they're all going to be quite different. I mean, within a 5 to 7% margin of difference. And when someone's talking about being able to articulate better, to tongue better on a ligature, that there is something to that. The ligatures will create a different response. It's not going to change pitch. It's not going to allow you to tongue faster. There might be a cleanliness issue that's significant as the user of the ligature. When it comes to the 1-screw or 2-screw ligatures, I've got some real feelings about that. Surprisingly strong feelings. I do like a 1-screw ligature, although I don't mind a 2-screw ligature. Here's the thing. A lot, like for me, speaking personally, the Rovner ligature has a little knob on it that has grippers on it. And if I'm working on reeds, and I work on 20 to 30 reeds in a day, let's say, I'm really digging in on reeds, my delicate fingers get very roughed up by that mechanism, which I don't like that much. Although the ligatures are quite good and they function quite well in every respect, I don't like that. And I also don't like to work on reeds with a different set of equipment. So I do like to use the ligature that I am performing and practicing with while I'm working on the reeds. So in that sense, I like one that has a twisty like screw head on it, like the Vandoren ligatures, like the MO and the Optimum, I believe. I haven't played on an Optimum, so I can't speak to that. But I will say the MO has a regular thing that you twist, much like the Vandods. And let's talk about inverted versus not inverted. Inverted means that the screws are on the back, not on the reed side of the mouthpiece. Now, for me, there's two reasons why I like the inverted Vanod versus the traditional Vanod. The traditional Vanod closes on the reed, and that digs into the reed a little bit and smooshes the cane. Smush is a technical term that I use, and I don't like the look of it. And somehow or another, I feel like that changes how the reed over time. If I use that same reed with that same thing and I'm screwing it in, it changes the contact point a little bit. And that I don't think actually makes any difference, but it trips me out a little bit. So I prefer the inverted one. The other thing I like about the inverted one is, and people that have known me for a long time know this, I used to have a very long goatee. I loved it. It was a little aggressive, and I shaved it off a number of years ago. But when I used a traditional ligature, and the screws were on the reed side next to my face, my beard would get caught in the screws. I did not like that very much because it hurt when I pulled the instrument out of my mouth. So I switched to the inverted type of ligature, and I liked how I could get the spot on the reed the same every single time, and it didn't hurt my face like that. And then in terms of one screw or two screws, I agree that, one screw is a faster move if you're in an emergency. That being said, I've never been in such an emergency that the two screws have been an issue. But everyone's got their own thing. The last thing that I think is important about a ligature is if I take my mouthpiece off to swab my instrument in the middle of a performance, or even in practicing, does it stay on the mouthpiece? Does the reed stay attached? That's important to me. And for me, there's some ligatures that are better at that than others. The ligature that I liked how it played that didn't pass that test was the Silverstein ligature. I had to be very careful to have my cork greased just right, meaning a lot, in order to make sure that didn't happen. And what I learned was I'm not really mature enough to take care of that in the way that I needed to with the Silverstein ligature. But aside from that, it's a terrific ligature. And I think what you're going to find is any company that makes ligatures cares, and they make a good product. And the slight differences that come along with it are not significant enough that if you're in the beginning stages or even in the intermediate stages, it's going to be that much of a difference maker. So that's what I think about ligatures. I think these are all good comments. I think they're all good ligatures. Nobody suggested anything that would do anybody any damage at all. So I say to this question, good job, Facebook. Good job, questioner. Good job, commenters. All right, let's see what we have next. Okay. I remember this one. People that play double-lipped, pros or cons? So here's what's interesting about this. Playing double-lipped is something that when you do it, you feel very passionate about it. And this definitely invites people that play double-lipped to have answered the question as opposed to people that play single-lipped. So there are a lot of passionate responses about this, and I love it. I'm going to skim through some of the comments. They're very long and very passionate. I think it's terrific. A few decades, double-lip here. Pros, great sound. Cons, I don't perform standing up. I can't be bothered getting a neck strap set up for the few times it's needed. Practice endurance needs to be more managed. Those are all true things. In terms of the person's choice not to perform standing up, I think, I agree. I very rarely get to play a concerto. When I do, obviously I do it standing up. And you do end up with a little bit more weight on your thumb. Okay, for argument trolls, yes, of course you can get a good sound single-lipped. I simply prefer the sound of double-lip. And then a kissy face. Or kissy lips, I guess. Okay, there's a story about hearing people play with double-lipped, recognizing they used to study with the same teacher and the connection that brought. I think it's beautiful. Blah, 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 blah. Teachers, okay, they start people double-lipped, and they've never had an issue with it. And if the students don't want to switch, then they don't switch. I think that's good. BT dubs. It's super easy to switch to single lip on marathon jobs when the top lip has had enough. I do try and hide it in loud passages and then switch back to double for exposed solos. LOL. I also use single for hellacious altissimo E-flat parts and saxophone. I wouldn't call myself a saxophonist, but I do play a lot of saxophone, and I play it pretty well. And I don't really know the history of double lip with the saxophone, so I can't really comment too much on that. How about this one? FYI, it's not supposed to hurt when you play double lip. If it does, it means you are using too much vertical pressure or biting. I practice occasionally using double lip to make sure that I am playing correctly. Good information. The big discussion. I think that is good. And then here we go. Here's the part I like about this. It's about playing the clarinet with your air, not your embouchure. The biggest mistake I see is that people make with the transition to double lipped is this. They play a setup that requires lots of jaw pressure to make it work. Then they put their top lip under their top teeth and then try and generate that same quote-unquote pressure as they get pain in their top lip. Iggy Janusa used to tell me you should be able to hold your clarinet up in a 5-mile-per-hour wind, wiggle your fingers, and hear some sound. I would suggest that that's hyperbolic in nature. I think that might be a very not resistant way of playing the clarinet. And I'll push back a little bit on this idea that a more resistant setup requires more jaw pressure. I think sometimes that happens, and it's not a good thing, and practicing double lip will certainly help correct that. It will tell you if there's an imbalance in what you're doing, and if you're doing something to compensate that you shouldn't be doing. That's true. I do use a relatively resistant setup, I would say, and I can play double lip just fine. Actually, it sounds quite good. It's quite comfortable for me. So I think that it is a check, and an important check for us at times to be able to check in on that and see what information we get and if there's something that needs to be changed. Okay, I think it's great. No cons as far as I'm concerned. Here's a list for you. There's a list. Reginald Kell, Ralph McClain, Kahuzak Stolzman, Steve Hartman, he's so good. Harold Wright, I don't know who this person is. Luigi Amodio, I'm sure he's good. I don't know who it is. Closet, Lefebvre, Opperman, Rose, and David Weber. Yeah, I mean, I think that is going to say that this is something historically was the kind of the standard way people played the clarinet. I'm not sure exactly when or why we changed from double lip, but it certainly was the standard way that people played. And the people that are still going playing the clarinet on this list, come from teachers and a time where that was taught. There was a certain period of time where I think this kind of fell out of favor, and I don't know why. And I do think it's coming back. I think we're paying more attention to the history of the clarinet now. I think that perhaps Facebook is one of the reasons, because there's an outlet for people to talk about these things in a way that their voice gets heard, and their voice is important. And so I think that's a good list, and it does show us that playing double lipped is a thing that people do, and it obviously is a very effective way to play the clarinet. Here's a comment from a person I know, JD, those initials. If you're watching this, thank you for this comment. I began playing double lipped in 1988 after 10 plus years of single lip embouchure. I believe there is no more effective embouchure on the clarinet. It is challenging in the beginning. Fatigue, discomfort, and frustration can come with the changing of any habitual action, i.e. replacing one embouchure style with another. I play for a living, and he plays real well. In an orchestra, I play chamber music and concertos. 95% of the time, I play double-lipped on B-flat and A clarinet. Note, I play E-flat clarinet as part of my job, that I play single-lip because of the ridiculous resistance in the upper register. I practice double-lip, rehearse and perform double-lip, also many of my students and former students. The flexibility of sound, tuning, and legato are truly worth the initial frustration. I suggest only practicing for short periods in the beginning. Rest is very important. Only use double lip when you have acquired the endurance and control and hopefully comfort to play double lip for 30 minutes. Then you might try it in ensembles, rehearsals. I started in 2D passages so as to get started. Then, about a month later, I began using double lipped on everything. It's been more than 30 years now. Totally worth the investment. I think that is a well-constructed, well-articulated set of information and advice on how to implement it. Really, really terrific stuff. It's nice to be able to get information like that from professional players who play beautifully and that are really, really not only giving good advice in terms of why it's a good idea, but how to go ahead and make that change. I think it's terrific. Practicing double lip will improve your sound of your single lip. It's magic. That's true. It's not magic. I'll get back to that. Double lip embouchure is superior on all clarinets and saxophones, and y'all can fight me. A little aggressive for my tastes, and not a lot of information there, but a strong statement First of all, I've got a video on double lip playing. Check it out if you haven't. I do practice double lipped, and I do it to check in on my single lip embouchure, to make sure I am doing everything efficiently, effectively, and I would say, quote unquote, correctly. And I think it's important. In my conversation that is on YouTube with Dr. Ron Odrich, who studied with Daniel Bernard, Robert Marcellus, and some other luminaries, Ron's in his 90s, knows a lot about the clarinet, and even more than that, he made his life as a periodontist. So he knows a lot about our mouths. And one of the things that he said, and I think this is not a part of any of these comments, and I think it's important to say, when we curl our top lip over our teeth, it does something in our oral cavity, which raises our upper palate. And it creates a really good starting place for our voicing. And that's a really, really important thing about addressing the change in tone and the change in, the evenness of the registers and the legato that we can do. Practicing double-lipped and or playing double-lipped can really create a situation not only in the point of contact and making sure we're not biting, not using too much pressure or pinching the reed, but it also can really help us identify what's a good voicing and how to get there in a way that feels natural and true to ourselves. And so I suggest definitely checking in to make sure that you can play double-lipped. And if you like how it sounds and you want to go 100% double-lipped, I say go for it. One of the things that can happen if you play multiple instruments, primarily the flute, is that you can't really do it. Let me rephrase that. I can't really do it because then this lip is swollen and this lip is swollen, and flute's hard enough when you are playing multiple instruments to get that happening with one lip swollen, much less two. I don't know how anybody could do that. Chime in the comments if you can. I would love to hear how you go about it, because I could never quite make that work. Great comments, great conversation. I won't accept the invitation to fight about it. Okay, let's look at one more question here. What could cause intonation problems on a year-old Yamaha 650? It's not even throughout all the registers. I understand there are small differences, and if you adjust for one thing, it throws off something else. But we typically want the instrument in tune with itself and even throughout. That's the dream. Let's see what the comments say. I feel like the people looking for help and lessons and solutions on these pages are unrealistic. We can't see or hear. Another comment, people need to get a reputable teacher. I've got a comment about the reputable teacher. I know a lot about what I am, and I am a reputable teacher. And there is a program called the Clarinet Ninja Dojo, and it's linked in the description. And what this program is a way to get time with me live on the internet so I can see and hear, offer you actionable exercises that produce results to tell you if what you're doing is working, and helping you bring that into how you play the clarinet and become a part of really increasing your rate of success, not only today, but in your future endeavors. Because one of the things that can happen, and it sounds like it's happening here, is that a person is on a foundational level doing something that's a little bit weird, potentially, and could use a little bit of help figuring out what's a reasonable expectation and how to come as close as you can to that reasonable expectation so that you can work from there. And the Clarinet Ninja Dojo has two sections. One that is for people that are just getting started on the clarinet or are coming back after a pretty long period of time, oftentimes, that really want to establish good habits, really get moving on the clarinet. We do a lot of really fun things. It's a great community, and people really are getting a lot out of it. It's really exciting. The second part of the program is for people that are playing like rose etudes, things that you might play in college. And it's a kind of a new approach of working these foundational exercises into how you practice those things so you can play that music, but really integrate these ideas that are going to really put your playing on the fast track and really bump your levels up. And it's been very, very exciting to see the difference that's made and the community that's emerging from it, people from all over the world that are really a part of creating success for themselves and creating success for other people. It's been a very rewarding thing, and I would invite you to check it out. The link is in the description, and I'd love to hear from you about it if you have any interest at all. It can work right along with your clarinet lessons if you're already taking clarinet lessons, or it can stand alone as the way that you learn how to play the clarinet. Very effective in both aspects on that front. Advertisement over, but check it out, the Clarinet Ninja Dojo. And while I'm selling, go ahead, if you don't mind, and join the Clarinet Ninja Forum on Facebook. That link will also be in the description. I would love to have more questions to interact with people and make sure that they're getting good and complete advice in a situation. And that's another way that the community can be really, really helpful. So check those things out. All right. So I will say that, yeah, well, let's look at some more. Find a reputable teacher. Oh, yeah, and some of the amateurs are literally giving bad advice. I want to push back on that. Amateur players are wonderful parts of the community, and I think everybody should have a voice in saying, this worked for me. Because, you know, listen, if it worked for you, it's going to work for some other people. Sometimes the articulation of that advice is not as good as the advice itself, and so it can be a little incomplete, and it can be challenging in that way. But I think to throw shade on somebody for stating an opinion when somebody's asked a question and they're doing their best to respond to it, yeah, I don't think that's so nice. Okay, not necessarily. This is an answer to the question. There are some notes on the clarinet that are just sharp or flat and that we need to adjust as we play. Part of being a clarinet player. Find yourself a reputable teacher. Again, that's me, who's an experienced performer. That's me. Okay. Very unlikely. I'd have someone else play it and check it out to see if they get the same result. This is great advice. If you're having any challenge with your clarinet and you think it might be the instrument, yeah, find a friend who plays the clarinet. See how it's going for them and get some information there. And while they're playing your clarinet, see if they'll let you play their clarinet. See what that result comes, you know, what that result is. And that way you get information from two different places. And really you can refine what is a reasonable thing to expect from yourself and your instrument. And it's a good thing. Intonation in which registers? On what specific notes, etc. Need more to work with here. Well, that's fair. Here's another one. Engage brains before asking questions that require someone else to be able to see or hear your instrument. I don't think that's the nicest way somebody could have said that. Throat tones are always sharp. Open your throat as though yawning to bring them down. Top register is usually quite out. You have to learn to lip it even on an expensive instrument, although less so. Yeah, maybe. But I also think if we're playing in a way that really allows the clarinet to do what it's supposed to do, the margins on that come down. It's a clarinet. There's some challenges in it inherently, and what one of the other commenters said is true. It's never going to be exactly even, and the notes aren't going to be exactly in tune playing on one setting, but you can reduce the spread of the differences, working on the foundations of how you're playing. And that's an important thing. And that's one of the things that trips people up is they get started on a track that's going to build problems in as they go on. And that's one of the main frustrations I see with adult players and people that are really interested in playing the clarinet and are really giving their best effort, taking the best advice they can, is that sometimes we got to go back a few steps, iron out a problem or a challenge that then unlocks things as you go. And that's a really, really important thing that is also a very, very hard thing to articulate in a Facebook comment. For sure. What mouthpiece and reed combination are you using? A bad setup will cause a lot of problems with intonation, etc. Have an experienced player, shop tech, or your teacher evaluate your instrument. Yamaha products are of great quality. I'm thinking your clarinet is fine. Best wishes. Very, very elegantly stated. It obviously is in need of repair. You need a repairman. Never waste your time on an instrument that needs repair. That's true. Identifying whether your instrument needs repair is a little bit more complicated than that. I've heard from a lot of technicians we should check ourselves a little bit tighter than we do sometimes when we come in and expect them to be able to fix a problem on the instrument that is really us. So we need to weigh that pretty clearly before we go in and get our instrument worked on, to have reasonable expectations of what a technician is going to do. Most of people don't play on a YCL 650. It might have some reason for it. I don't think we need to throw shade on the Yamaha 650. I don't really know the instrument so well. I'm going to be honest. I don't think I've ever played one. But I know the Yamaha product line, and it's a very, very high quality product line from top to bottom. So I'm not sure that it's the instrument inherently. I don't think it's fair. But, you know, that's where you will get that information if you have someone else play it, and then you try their instrument, then you're going to have a lot of information. And I think that's a really, really great thing to do. All right, so there's some of the things that I saw on Facebook, and I think that it is beautiful to have a community of people that are ready and willing to answer, for the most part, kindly and authentically. And I think it's a resource we should all use. And again, check out the Clarinet Ninja forum. I want to get that more active. It's not that active right now because I haven't done the greatest job putting the word out in the world. But if there's something I love, it's talking clarinet. Please take me up on it. Check out the Clarinet Ninja Dojo. The link's in the description. You can set up a time, 45 minutes, to get some information from me about you, your playing, your goals, how you're going to best get there, and a little bit of a advertisement in that to let you know if the Clarinet Ninja Dojo would be right for you. Please take me up on that. There's not a lot of choices in terms of the times that I have on the Calendly link, but if none of those work, email me. We'll set something up. I'd love to hear you play, and I'd love to tell you what I think would be helpful to you. And you can assess for yourself whether I know what I'm talking about. Totally fair. And I'd love to hear you play and see what you're doing and help you achieve all that you want on the clarinet. That's what I got for now. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you like this sort of idea. I think it's kind of fun. It's a little different than what I normally do. So check in with me about that. And if you don't like it, try and be nice about it, all right? Anyway, love you. I'll see you next time. Bye.